Chapter 5. Good day, Walter. The Duke greeted Wesley's butler as the footman held the door for him. Is the Viscount ready to see guests, do you suppose? The well-trained retainer did not reveal his surprise at seeing the Duke at such an hour. The Viscount and his friends rarely saw the morning hours. If you would care to wait, I will check for you, Your Grace. Thank you, Walter. Pray convey my apologies, but it is a rather urgent matter. His lordship need not make himself overly presentable. I just need a few minutes of his time. Very good, Your Grace. If you will make yourself comfortable in the yellow room, I shall be but a moment. Alex could not sit still. He paced about the room while he waited. Gazing about at the walls that gave the room its name, he wondered absently what Rose would think of the colour, remembering with a smile the description she had given of Lord Austen's waistcoat. Would she refer to it as a jonquil or primrose? He asked himself with a widening smile. What are you grinning about, standing in here by yourself? The Viscount of Brackendale demanded, as he strode into the room in his dressing-coat. And what, pray tell, are you doing in my receiving room at this hour? Walter said it was urgent. Can it wait long enough for me to break my fast, or do we need to ride for the border on the instant? Alex truly did grin at his friend's choice of words. No riding will be necessary at the moment. I merely need to run a few ideas past you. We can adjourn to your breakfast room if you would like, but I would prefer to be private, if you do not mind. If you can tolerate me in my state of disarray, then I can manage to serve myself. Let us not stand upon ceremony. You can help yourself to whatever you would like as well. Wesley led the way to his dining room, where a vast array of dishes had been spread for his enjoyment. All this for just you? Alex asked with surprise. It would seem to me that my staff is slacking. They do not provide me half this much most mornings, he complained half-heartedly. Mayhap my staff knows I can afford more waste than you can, teased the Viscount. Or perhaps my staff knows I loathe growing fat, Alex countered, laughing over the glower that was cast his way in response. A few moments later, after the worst of his hunger had been sated, Wesley sat back with a strong cup of coffee in his hand. With a sigh of satisfaction he faced his guest. Very well, Your Grace. I am sufficiently fortified to hear about this emergency that has struck you so early this morning. What has happened since we saw each other last night? Rosie Smythe has happened, Alex stated without preamble. Wesley grew serious, but strove for levity. What does Miss Smythe have to do with you arriving at such an unholy hour upon my doorstep? The chit asked to meet me at Burlington House this morning, where she was sketching. She had overheard a conversation involving me, and felt the need to tell me about it. Interesting, was all the Viscount had to say. What kind of a conversation would be able to make a Smythe speak to a Wrentham? She overheard Lord Austen and Sir Broderick conspiring to have Lady Anne entrap me into marriage. Now Wesley was at a loss for words. This was but momentary. Why would she care? Was his first question, dripping with suspicion, as he clearly felt protective of his friend. This was quickly followed by an exasperated exclamation. And did you really believe her tale? Do you not find it rather difficult to imagine Lady Anne participating in any sort of scheme against you? And what could Lord Austen and Sir Broderick possibly have to gain by concocting such a plot? Much to Alex's amusement, Wesley now rose from the table and began to pace. Not wishing to interrupt his perambulations, Alex forbore to comment as Wesley continued to rant. I do not think you truly bought into Miss Smythe's tale. You are merely baiting me with this story, are you not, Your Grace? There is no way she would approach you with such a far-fetched Banbury tale. You would never believe it, and what could she possibly have to gain by it? No, if the chit did arrange a meeting with you, and you are not merely stringing me along, she must have had some sort of havey-cavey scheme of her own afoot, no doubt in cahoots with her parents. You must be on your guard, Ancroft. With these impassioned words, the Viscount threw himself back into his chair, gazing at the Duke expectantly. Meanwhile, Alex was still smiling over his friend's use of his former title. In his distress, he had reverted to his old form of address. "I appreciate your concern, Brackendale," he drawled with gentle emphasis, "but I have to admit to you that I do, in fact, believe Miss Smythe. I have known Rosie for most of her life, and I do not think she was lying to me. I really do believe she overheard a conversation between Lord Austen and Sir Broderick, in which a conspiracy to entrap me into marriage with Lady Anne was discussed. Whether or not it is as dire a situation as she seems to think remains to be seen. As far as I know, those two gentlemen do not have any sort of grudge against me, and I never would have thought Lady Anne had it in her to participate in any such thing. But if what you say is true, and Miss Smythe did overhear such a conversation, why would she bother to warn you of it? Would it not be your just deserts in her mind?" Alex offered a rather wan smile over his friend's weak attempt at humour. "She is a forward little minx who cannot keep her thoughts to herself. She will be the death of whichever man has the misfortune of marrying her. Her managing ways were adorable when she was 6. I am not so certain they are nearly as attractive now that she has reached 20 summers." Seeing that the Viscount was eyeing him with marked amusement, Alex gave his head a shake and answered his friend's question. "I believe there remains within her a trace of loyalty toward the relationship we once enjoyed. And she mentioned some sort of nonsense about loyalty to the Crown that I could not fully understand. I was sidetracked at the moment and did not ask her to elaborate. I think the poor dear has been overmuch in company with a diplomat father, who would of necessity be at all times concerned with matters of state." "Well, you are a duke. Do you suppose there is a kernel of truth to that?" Now Wesley's loyalties, always on the duke's side, swung to include Miss Smythe if she were, in fact, defending his friend. "She has directed me to discuss the matter with my solicitors, and determine if they are aware of any issues those two might have against me personally. In the meantime, she is going to attempt to forge a relationship with Lady Anne in order to see if she can find out anything from that quarter." Now Wesley was again incredulous. "You mean she is going to help you with the matter? Are you absolutely certain she has no ulterior motives?" "Quite," Alex answered, his tone dry. "But that is partially why I am here. I am uncertain if my motives are entirely pure. I need to talk the matter out with a trusted friend. I have so few of those these days. There was really only one choice. That is why your butler had to drag you from your bed to see me." Understanding had dawned in Wesley's eyes during the Duke's speech. Alex cringed to see sympathy written in every feature of his friend's face. "Now don't go looking at me as though I have some sort of pox." This did the trick of bringing a grin to the Viscount's visage. "Seems to me that love is worse than the pox, your grace." Alex sighed. He would never have used the L word himself, but no doubt that was what it was. "You were never reasonable about that chit," Wesley remarked. He didn't bother to await a response. "So, when do you meet her again?" "How did you know we were to meet again?" "You would not be here with your knickers in a knot if you did not fear you were treading down the wrong road. If you had told the chit to mind her own business, or even thanked her politely for the warning and told her you would look after the matter from here on out, you would not now need my assistance, nor would you look so concerned. You would have gone straight to your solicitors, as the young miss advised, and would be halfway done sorting the matter out by now. Instead, you are here in my dining room, downing my coffee, looking as though you wished it were something more able to steady your nerves. No. You, my friend, have the look of someone who knows he is going to get kicked in the teeth, but cannot seem to steer clear to save his own soul." "You certainly do like to mix your metaphors," Alex grumbled, but did not argue with the truth of the Viscount's words. He heaved another sigh before answering his earlier question. "Day after tomorrow, back at Burlington House. That is to give her a day and a half to track down as much information as she can." "Do you think a debutante is going to be able to gather much information?" "She's not just any debutante," Alex defended. "When she was still in the schoolroom, she was able to ferret out the truth from any of us boys. She always knew everything that was going on at our estate and ours, as well as the surrounding boroughs. No one could keep anything from her. She just had this way of asking questions and looking at you with such interest that you ended up telling her everything she might possibly want to know before you even realized it. It was one of her best and worst qualities all at once. Wesley's eyebrows had been inching their way up his forehead during Alex's speech, and they had nearly disappeared into his hairline by the time the Duke settled into silence, which caused him to burst into a guffaw of laughter. "Why are you looking at me like that, my Lord Viscount Brackendale?" "Did you hear yourself as you were talking about her?" Wesley countered with a question of his own. "All right, Dunbar, you were correct. I did come to you for a reason beyond the actual problem of someone's efforts to entrap me." Alex sighed over his own admission. "You were wrong when you said I have never been reasonable about her. Yes, she was my dearest friend for most of her life, but that does not change the facts of our situation now. Our families cannot tolerate the presence of one another. Besides, she is not at all the biddable sort of girl I pictured making me a comfortable duchess. Nothing whatsoever can come of any association between the Duke of Wrentham and Miss Smythe." Alex paused once more, raking his hand through his hair with frustration. "But I cannot turn my back on the fact that she had the decency to let me know about what she perceived as a threat to me. I cannot reward her loyalty with my own disloyalty. I need to take this threat seriously and allow her to help with the solution." "Did she offer her help?" "Not in the beginning. I actually asked her to help. But I know her well enough to know that she would have wanted to be involved." "Mm-hmm." Wesley was non-committal. "So what did the two of you arrange?" "She is to seek out Lady Anne, possibly with the help of Lady Elizabeth, and try to glean as much information as she can. In the meantime, I will find out what I can about Lord Austen and Sir Broderick. Then, as you said, we will meet to discuss our findings and make a further plan from there." "So what do you need from me?" "I might need you to take over the investigation as it connects with Rosie's involvement. I would appreciate it if you would accompany me to our meeting 2 days hence, in order to lend countenance, as well as to help if need be. Depending where the situation goes, I might really need your help." "So you really do believe there is some sort of a threat against you?" "I do. It is the extent of the threat that is uncertain. It is a fact of a duke's life that there is always someone out to get him on some level. But this seems different. Generally, anyone scheming against me is just interested in benefiting in their pocketbook. On the surface, with Lord Austen, that would be the obvious reason. But Sir Broderick is far from having his pockets to let, so it does not seem so apparent what his motivation might be. This leads me to believe it could be more nefarious than I would wish." Wesley had to agree. "Unfortunately, anything involving Sir Broderick has the potential of being nefarious. Do you think to keep Miss Smythe apprised of the details as you learn them?" "It will depend on what those details turn out to be," was all Alex would commit to. "How is she likely to react if she thinks you are withholding information from her?" "Not well." Alex grinned. "It would be best if she is not allowed to suspect such a thing." He paused as he imagined her reaction, but then shook his head. "Now that I have garnered your promise of help, I must be off to begin my investigations." Before he was able to take his leave, his host stopped him with these words, quietly spoken. "Did you really think I would fail to come to your assistance, Your Grace?" "Now don't go getting all starchy with me, Dunbar," Alex protested. "You surely realize it is a tricky situation. And no, it never once crossed my mind that you would fail me. I just did not want to spring it on you in an uncomfortable environment. And truth to tell, I needed a friendly face to talk it out with before I go and face my solicitors." Now Wesley grinned. "Do you wish me to accompany you on that errand?" "No, thank you. I am fairly certain I am now up to the task." "Would you like me to head round to the clubs and ask a few discreet questions about our gentlemen friends?" Alex was near the door, but turned at these words with a look of surprise upon his face. "Thank you, my friend. I did not think to involve you overly much in this affair, but if you did find yourself in interesting company this afternoon, it could be quite helpful. Although we are known to be associates, it may be less obvious if you poke around a little than if I do." "Very well, then. I shall see you later. I am promised at Clarehurst tonight. Will you be joining me there?" The Duke could not miss his cousin's ball, even if he had little desire to dance attendance upon any more debutantes. It would be a good test of his skills of diplomacy if he could make it through this complicated day without revealing his thoughts to all and sundry. "Until then," Wesley acknowledged, and the Duke finally made his way out of the house.